John Easton bought his Super Snipe from a Lord Mayor for £650. Roots took over the Humber and Hillman car companies in the 20s and started building the Super Snipe in the 30s. They weren't in the same class as a Rolls, more your politicians or film stars car. And John, a cinema projectionist, saw these stars every day on the big screen. His leading lady was his very own Super Snipe.
The car was his whole life, his pride and joy. It was quite a standard joke, really, that he'd part with me long before he'd part with the car.
John used the car as the family runaround. The difference was this car could carry more than one family.
Oh, I suppose we must have had 8 or 9 in it when we used to go and visit my sister in Romford.
Mother, Grandma, me, you, children.
Barbara,
sometimes we had Ian, Barbara's children.
And with so many in the car, it left little room for the pram.
John much preferred to take all the wheels off of the pram and put it all back together again when we arrived anywhere, rather than get rid of this car and have a sensible car.
Well, I thought we wouldn't have a pram forever, would we? But once the car's gone, it's gone.
The Humber's luxurious pre-war design was out of place in post-war Britain, but it gave Roots some style.
I'll open the bonnet. 4-litre side valve. Nice plodder. Plenty of room to work, but the easiest way I found is to actually get in the engine and then you can work on the rear, which is very handy when it's raining.
The interior is trimmed with leather, Bakelite and enamel paint.
That slight noise there is the heater. Let me turn that off. The blower. It's very quiet clock, you can't hear it ticking. The wipers, you can either have 1 or 2. But sitting here, you don't really need that one. Beautiful. Real wood, not plastic. Today, they couldn't afford to build it like this, with all nuts and bolts. I think it's remarkable, really. No cigarette lighters. Cigar lighters in Humbers.
But cigar-smoking Humber buyers were getting harder to find. It was expensive to build, a reliable, if dated, throwback to a lost era. Roots' basic Hillman cars were badged as Humber or Sunbeam. This way, a range of family cars could be assembled more cheaply. But for many, the spirit of Roots' flagship mark had been lost.
Humber Sceptre, it's a nice Hillman, but it's still got the Humber name on it.
To capture the growing market for sporty family cars, Roots launched the Sunbeam Rapier in 1955. 8 years later, Harold Morris parted with £800 for his.
I felt it was very much ahead of its time in looks. It didn't look like many cars did, a box with wheels on 4 corners.
the rapiers show off their handling on the fast and frightening left-hander.
It was a sports version of the Hillman Minx. 10 years after the Jowett javelin had won its class at the Monte Carlo Rally, the rapier won the team prize at the same event. Harold, a headmaster, bought his because he had his own European rally in mind for the school holidays.
I was wanting to do some touring on the continent, and I thought that if the rapier would perform well on the Monte Carlo Rally, it would do for me. It's quite a normal 4-cylinder engine, 1592cc. It's got twin Stromberg carbs, which give it quite good acceleration and speed. That's supposedly the heating system, but it never was very efficient. It was quite a cold car in the winter. I like these two side grills. They were, of course, ventilators, and it's possible to shut them from the inside if necessary. Another feature I liked about it was the fact that both windows wind down and give it a, well, I think, a very sporting look. And it's ideal, that is, for touring in warm weather. Another attractive feature, I think, is the walnut dashboard. This is a speedometer, of course, with the mileage on it, except that you have to add 100,000 onto that. This is the demister, which again, well, we won't say anything about that.
Harold, his wife Biddy and daughter Jo drove to Yugoslavia in the rapier 4 years running. Just getting to Dover took most of the first day.
We left home at 3 a.m. It was a fine morning. We joined the M1 at Daventry, and we kept up a steady 65 to 70 miles an hour. And we were at Marble Arch just after 7 a.m. I know Billy was not too keen on setting off in the middle of the night.
I've enjoyed leaving home, you see, and in the early hours of the morning it was always worse, but it was always one of these sort of times that Harold chose that we must go, you see, so of course we all did as we were told.
Traffic was heavy, and it really is worthwhile leaving home a couple of hours earlier.